Okay, so welcome to this next video for COMP3218, Game Design and Development at the University of Southampton. My name's Dave Millon, I'm one of the lecturers on the course, and I'm here with...
I'm Callum, I'm one of the demonstrators.
And I'm Tom Blount, I'm another lecturer of the course.
No, lecturer, yeah.
Not a demonstrator anymore.
Yeah, so we're going to have a look at, I think, a couple of games in this batch. Tom, do you want to say a little bit about what we asked the students to do?
So for this coursework, we asked the students to create a small game prototype that had a clear core dynamic and a way of tutorializing that to the player.
Brilliant. Okay, so I think our first game is called Adventures of Skyr?
Skyr? I'm not
something.
Sure.
Right, I'm in the driving seat for this one, which means I will be very bad at it. Okay, I guess just play.
Yep.
Okay, use keys to start moving around. Avoid running into a being seen by the patrolling enemies. Okay. Oh, I've got a little jump.
Oh, it's this one.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Back out there. Oh, back. I tried to jump. It didn't let me jump. Press R to restart. So I presume I have to get up there and jump over them.
Yeah, but you've got to jump at sort of exactly the right moment. So I don't think you can really jump from there. I think you have to creep up behind it and then jump as it turns.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so.
Also, that's twice now where I've tried to jump and it hasn't let me.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know why.
Maybe the edges of the platforms are a little less generous than they look.
Yeah, now.
Okay, I see.
So I guess that. Ooh.
So the way they got those vision cones sort of curving around the terrain is kind of nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
But then, in that instance, like, it's only blocking off us. Like, it's being blocked off, but the bit that it's blocking off, you can't stand in anyway because they can see above it. So it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe later on that will be.
Okay, so you can actually see them quite a long way away from it, so they've got quite a tight hitbox.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that when you put that countdown at the beginning, it obscures the avatar, so you can't, like, for those 3 seconds when you're just looking around, you can't actually see what your character is, which maybe isn't ideal.
So there's
the animation's nice.
Okay. What is that?
I think that's the end of the level.
Okay, could have done with a
little
flag or something.
Yeah.
Your score, new high score. Right, next level main. So again, I've got to switch to the mouse, so it's always a little bit of a pain. Press and hold X to become invisible to enemies. Be careful though, you are still vulnerable. Okay, does it recharge? It does. Okay, so I can do that. Probably should have jumped and then done it. Okay. Just beat me to it.
So the focus, I think, lasts for quite a while, so you can hold it. So
don't run into them.
Yeah, you're invisible, but you're not. You can still
invulnerable. Oh.
Oh, that's slightly sneaky.
Yeah.
So their vision cone, while you're invisible, is still there, but it's a bit harder to see.
Yeah.
What's that?
That palette swap
focus.
Kind of makes...
Oh, focus recharges. I can look for power-ups.
Okay.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, I think that that like palette swap makes everything a little bit harder to follow.
So this is something we said to them in the lab. The background is quite noisy, and there's a lot of stuff you've got to keep track of, particularly with the vision cones.
Like that power up, for instance, it's animated, which makes it stand out a bit. But in terms of colours, it's pretty much identical to the background's colour palette.
So do they come out very far?
So that actually there, I think you're better off going backwards and going under it.
It's a nice little.
Like, you don't even really need the power up because it recharges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's odd.
And then you also get some other
Press Z when you've picked up a projectile to shoot and stun enemies. Okay.
Oh, it's got the projectile count in the bottom left.
Oh, I see.
So they're introducing bits of the UI as they become useful.
No, the projectiles was actually down there the whole time.
Was it? So the focus.
It just said 0.
Okay.
So I can't get down there because that enemy. I can't shoot them. So
you can go invisible.
Oh yeah.
So I can go invisible and then shoot them. Oh, it's not
Well, you can just go invisible and jump over them.
Yeah, maybe it would have been better to have the invisibility as a toggle.
So a lot of people seem to think that in the expo, at least. I noticed a lot of people going, "Oh, I forgot I was meant to hold it down." Like, I can see why it's not, because you're sort of draining your focus meter, so it's the sort of thing that maybe you only want to drain as you're holding it.
But if it's like, especially given you've got X is the invisibility and then Z is fire, that's okay. So shooting them just disables their vision cone for a bit.
Yeah, they're temporarily stunned. I think it also stops them patrolling as well.
Maybe.
Oh.
But then why wouldn't you just run past them invisibly?
That's what I tended to do when I was playing it in the expo.
Yeah.
And it worked okay.
I think I'm being too cautious. I think basically this.
Hold that excellent.
Yeah. There's just so much.
But the thing is, you could just stand there, for example, and let your focus fully recharge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is going to be important later when I talk about this. But for now, shall we start talking about the aesthetics of it?
Sure.
So it's Foxy again. We like Foxy.
Foxy floats a little bit above the grass.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Doesn't necessarily fit with the.
I don't think that the fox necessarily doesn't fit with it. Like it does stand out quite a lot, but I guess it depends what kind of theme you're going for. Like if the idea is that this is a strange alien world, then you'd want your avatar to stand out from it quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, so
but there's not really been much setting.
So in terms of information design, we've got the focus meter, which is nice and clear. The projectile count, which is maybe less clear.
You say that, but the focus meter's like that kind of pale blue, and when you've got a kind of dark purplish background, and then when you palette swap, it becomes a pale blue, and then on the background again, it's lots of purples and blues, so it kind of blends in with it. Like a lot of the time it stands out, but occasionally it lines up with parts of the terrain where it's very hard to see.
So the end of this level looks very different to the end of the last level as well. So it's not
clear
but
what
the end of the last level looks like this one. So I think it's the end of the level. Yeah, so it shares the same design as the next level.
It looks the end of
make creative
the start of this level looks like the end of the last level, but that's
I've got to do with them time limit now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's wicked.
And that time limit goes over the projectile counter.
Oh,
so the UI has not been.
So I will say, I know they put a lot of work into the palette swapping. So a lot of it was like redrawing some of those sprites by hand, or well, not by hand, but explicitly recoloring them rather than just making them negative.
Oh right, crikey!
But the thing is,
I don't think the palette swap's necessary. Like,
I don't know. It's sort of nice as an effect, but it's still like the background is just so noisy that it's it sort of conceals a lot of the other information. Like the vision cones, like it's nice that they're very, very that they are there, and it's nice that they sort of shape around terrain, so it's clear what can be seen.
But they're not.
But they're not actually necessarily clear enough to stand out from the rest of the environment.
And so I remember. So initially, their idea was that this palette swap was because there was some kind of like alternate dimension or reality that was fading into. But given that in the final version it's just that you turn invisible, it would have made more sense to have the character's sprite change, either become transparent or change color or something. Whereas this, it's just it makes it harder to see without really explaining what's going on.
Okay, so a good would be key information is shown clearly, graphics are consistent, appropriate use of audio effects and on music. So we've not actually mentioned the audio. So
that's quite nice actually.
It is.
The audio effects are right.
But again, I'm not sure the background music necessarily fits.
No, it's appropriate. Yeah.
Like, given you've been given a timer, and this is very.
Well, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe it as creepy, more like contemplative. Like this is the kind of music I'd expect you to have in like an atmospheric exploration game or something.
It reminds me of like the Lavender. Is it Lavender Town in Pokemon?
I don't know. I don't play enough Pokemon.
So what is my score for?
It's for your own internal pride.
No, but where does it come from?
Oh right.
What have I got of 900 on the last one? 11 here.
That's an excellent question.
And how does it relate to the timer?
I scan through this to see if it says.
That's an excellent question. I assume it relates to the timer.
Why can't I control F paper?
If it was just a timer ticking down,
so we've got 3 levels. Yeah. So and also because the timer only appears in the 3rd one, and I know these are kind of tutorial type levels. Let me see. So,
bang.
Still maybe it is the time left. Yeah. It doesn't say anything on here about the score though.
So yeah, good would be key information shown clearly, graphics are consistent, appropriate use of audio. So
I'm not sure.
So okay, so satisfactory would be key information is shown, consistent graphics, some audio. And I think that might be where this sits.
Yeah, it's definitely shown. The graphics are mostly pretty consistent. Although then you've got like the walls of this level, for instance, are just coloured squares, whereas everything else has had a lot of texture and detail to it. So that's kind of jarring, especially when you've got these like nicely drawn assets next to just here's a purple rectangle.
All right, if we look at pass, that'd be some attempt at information design, consistent but poorly chosen graphics, some poorly chosen audio.
I don't think it's quite that bad.
I know it's better. It's better than that, isn't it?
Like I don't think.
I mean, some of the things we just said are basically that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's between the two, or maybe it's.
Yeah, I'd say it's. I'd say.
Is it a solid satisfactory, or is it?
I think this is one of the. Like technically, all of the key information is shown, but I think that the graphics are poorly chosen and the music, at least. I think the sound effects are fine, but the music doesn't fit with it. Really.
Yeah, the sound effect, like when you switch like dimensions or turn invisible or whatever, like it's a nice little arcadey sort of sound.
Yeah,
but that fits really well with the sort of gameplay.
But yeah,
so what do you reckon, Dave? I'll let you be the final arbiter of
this. So I mean, I've mainly been concentrating on trying not to get killed all the time, but
also things like this.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, looking at it, so my main problem with it is I'm just kind of not quite sure, like what the goal. I mean, goals to get to the end of the level, but am I supposed to be going quickly? I got stuff to collect, but I don't really need the stuff I collect. So I don't need the power ups. I don't need the so all that stuff is there. So, but if you actually look at the feedback it gives me, does it show you how many? It doesn't show how many bullets you have, does it?
It does. It's just there's a little text box in the corner.
Okay. Oh yeah, there we go. Which is miles away from me and I can't see. So yeah.
And again, this is we're doing this back in HD, so this is the resolution that it presumably would have been made for.
Yeah.
Rather than the ridiculous 4K ones we had earlier.
So, yeah, the information design, I mean, the focus bar's okay, but you don't really need... I don't think the problem is with the information design. I think the problem is you don't really need any of the stuff that it's telling you about.
Yeah.
So I don't really care about how many projectiles I have, so it's not a problem.
But then again, like, you see, like, the enemies are, again, they have the same, like, these here, they have the same colour palette as the background they're stood against. Yeah. So I think if they didn't have that massive vision cone coming out the front, you might not really be able to see them.
But they do have a massive vision cone coming out the front. Yeah. So like they've
kind of take over. So you got with it. Yeah, I mean, so for me, I would say that
yes,
the graphics are consistent. There is some audio effects and music. The key information is shown, so I think it's kind of probably a satisfactory level.
All right, that's good. Enough debate. Let's move on. So gameplay. So this sort of ties into what you're saying. They've added a number of different mechanics, but they're not all necessarily relevant. There's never a reason to use those projectiles.
So there's two problems here. So one of them is here, which is are the mechanics complementary, and the second one is are they integrated into level design, and that comes down later. So here are they complementary. So what can you do? You can run. You can jump. you can turn invisible, and you can shoot.
That was the wrong button.
And you can be caught by the vision cone.
So some of those are complementary.
Hitbox.
So the invisible and the invisible cone is kind of the same aspect.
Right.
But the fact you can stun enemies and that turns off their vision cone, for example. So they kind of complement each other a little bit.
But it doesn't complement the invisibility.
No.
It surpasses it or undermines it. Or...
No, it's like an alternative way of doing it.
So this is a little bit weird, right? Like...
And I think that's the problem when you're playing it, is you've got no reason to do it because you've got the invisibility. So
yeah, like the invisibility, which is better, and an unlimited resource.
Yes.
Projectile.
You then have this timer here, which tells you to go fast, but getting past things without being spotted often requires you stopping. That's rude.
So
just because I've seen Dave do that like 4 times.
yeah. Well, look at this way. I was doing it, and it still took me 4 times. So for me, the controls were usable, but I wouldn't say they were smooth because it felt to me like the I don't know, it just didn't feel that sharp, you know. And like some of the hitboxes aren't slightly different, but.
So a satisfactory would be a set of mechanics, usable controls, some meaningful play.
And I think this is bang on that, basically. I think there's definitely some... I was definitely playing it, I felt like I was playing it. There are definitely a set of mechanics.
So perhaps would be few or inconsistent mechanics.
So is your argument of the inconsistent mechanics that the shooting and the going invisible kind of undermine one another? Is that what you're thinking?
Kind of, but I think...
I'm not sure they undermine one another so much as you just don't need both of them.
Yeah. I don't think it necessarily makes the game worse, I just think there's no need for it.
Yeah.
So, like, I think this will come up more in the level design and things like that. Like, for example, they're placed in certain areas to encourage you to go there, but they don't provide that encouragement as a result. So, in terms of just purely the mechanics, they don't necessarily take away from the game.
Yeah.
Let's go explore the rest of this.
Satisfactory?
Yeah, I think so. I take your argument. I think they're kind of... Yeah. Bugs. Do we see any bugs?
Nothing dramatic.
Not really.
There's a couple of things where their hitboxes are, slightly larger than they
should be,
or they feel like they should be. But otherwise,
it seems to work okay. So good would be game is playable, is reasonably complex. There are only minor bugs, and these are uncommon. Game is playable, is reasonably complex. There are no obvious bugs. Would be excellent. So, I don't think I think they might even be knocking on the door of excellent, really. They kind of... it's whether we think the complexity is enough. It's got enough elements going on. It's got kind of...
I feel like I should have been spotted by that fishing cone.
I'd maybe put them sort of halfway between the two. There's a couple of annoyances in the game which you might count as bugs, but they're, that's about it.
But otherwise well put together. So in terms of the brief, what we actually asked them to do and how well they did it.
Level design.
So the first thing was level design.
So does the levels require does it demonstrate the mechanics? Is there good pacing?
Before we move on to that, I'm pretty confident that was technically a bug because again I may have seen it wrong, but when I fall down here, not then, but the last time I did, I just skimmed the edge of the vision cone enough that I saw it change shape around the sprite, but it didn't count as being caught. Well, but that's okay.
But no. So I would always say that's what I would do, right?
See,
because it's like the hitbox thing. You set the hitbox slightly too small. Right?
Yeah.
You kind of give the player a little bit of leeway because then it feels when they're playing, I just got away with it, just made it. You kind of it increases that.
But the fact that it visually distorts the vision cone makes it feel like it's telling you that you're in their line of sight.
If you're just overlapping, though, I kind of.
Yeah. I mean, given that's the closest we've found to a bug, that's
not too bad. So what about the level design then?
So does it showcase all of the mechanics?
It allows you to show the mechanics, but you don't need. You need the invisibility. You do not need the shooting. You do not need the boosting your focus thing. They're there. You can use them, but they're completely superfluous, I think.
There's also, like in this first level, this platform like it feels like it's telling you to go up here, but it doesn't. I don't think it actually helps because that guy. Well, no, you physically can't jump over anything.
It's a distraction.
From there.
It's a distraction.
It's like actively telling you to do in wrong thing,
which is a shame because it's the very first level.
Yeah,
it's like the very first jump even.
So in terms of level design, I kind of think that
similarly, in fact, the bit where it introduces the focus thing, there's that power up, but it's like go up here, but going up there is like much harder, and you don't need the power up.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Okay, I found. Okay, you have to just jump into the right part of that level.
So I think it's a kind of pass would be a level design that demonstrates some of the mechanics, but it's poorly balanced or paced, and with a lack of clarity over goals, risks, and rewards. And I would say that because you're not quite sure where you're going, and the end point isn't shown to you, there is a lack of clarity over your goals. The risks and rewards are not clear either because it's not quite sure what their value is.
So there's that guy is now floating in space.
Interesting.
He's standing on the vision cone.
Oh
no, he's just gradually.
Oh no, he's floating down. Okay.
Okay, so another bug, but so there is arguably a risk reward thing here. Like if you go up, get that focus thing, then you're on a harder path. But also, there's nothing to stop you going up, getting the focus, and then just going down,
or even just ignoring.
And then what I realised is, as soon as I realised that actually focus wasn't a problem, I just never bothered getting it.
Yeah.
So I think
been an attempt at it.
I think this is kind of like a pass level. The level design does demonstrate some of the mechanics, but there's a lack of clarity of the goals, risks, and rewards. Now the pacing. Do we feel that they get harder as you go? I suppose they introduce more bits, but again, I wouldn't necessarily say that you're. I don't know, the balance. So yeah, you could argue that the balancing and the pacing isn't great. So I would say the pass was slightly higher than the pass. Halfway to a satisfaction, maybe.
Just slightly above the pass, I think.
Because the levels do progress. The tutorial. It's integrated.
Yep.
It's nice that the instructions are there. They're not overwhelming, and they introduce the things gradually. But the level design actually doesn't help you. As we've just said, it kind of actually does the opposite. It kind of suggests you to do the wrong thing.
Like it encourages you not to pick up those power-ups.
Yes. Like in this case, it encourages you to jump up and over the cone. And,
also, even in this first screen, you have like the standard example of Mario 1-1, where if you just shifted the camera up and to the right of it, then
then you'd see what you're doing.
The negative space would help guide that.
You'd know you need to go in that direction. Secondly, you'd be able to see this fella controlling.
Because there's a little dip here, and there's not really any reason for it. Like, if your character was stood on the same level as that and just up here, then it would naturally be much closer to telling you to go that way. So I'm not sure why they've made it go down, especially given this.
So satisfactory for tutorial will be a partly integrated tutorial that communicates some goals, risks, and rewards through level design, and that introduces most information and mechanics in a logical way. So I would say it's slightly better than that in terms of integration.
It's partly hindered by the combination of mechanics isn't logical, so there isn't a logical way to.
And the goals, risks, and rewards are therefore very hard to communicate, and I don't think they successfully do that through level design. And the information is introduced in a logical way, but so again, I think overall, I would say that.
There we go. That's how you break them. I reckon what that is that when you do the palette swap, it slows down the rendering. But I think that the enemy's patrol might be on a timer, so doing this causes the enemy's patrol to like shift, and that makes them walk off the edge.
Nice,
but I might be wrong.
So I think the tutorial design is probably in the satisfactory sort of space.
Yeah, I think so.
For the reasons we've just been talking about, it's kind of. What did they say the core dynamic was? So
for this one, they said the core dynamic was right at the end.
Yeah, clearly conveyed to the player through the 3, 2, 1, go, and the timer bar at the bottom of the screen. The player will fail the level if the timer bar is empty, and their best time to level is tracked, so they can attempt to beat it.
That's weird.
Is it? I didn't notice it being tracked. We got a score for it. So this is a thing that we sort of clashed over a couple of times in the lab sessions, in that they wanted to make like a stealth platform game that was also a race to the end. Yeah. And that's an awkward combination to do. because stealth is all about patience and waiting and picking the right moment to move. And if this is a race to the end, then you get stop that for a second. You get stuck in sort of situations where it's like, okay, now I have to wait for this guard to turn their back, and that's frustrating when you're on the clock.
Yes.
And I can see how they've tried to really emphasise that it is race to the end by including the timer that sort of ticks down.
But I've been sat here for quite a long time.
There's no timer on this level. This is tutorial still.
Yeah, well, even in the next level, like, you don't...
I agree. I think they're kind of intentional a little bit.
It's like that combined with the music. Like it doesn't feel urgent. It doesn't feel like. I could see a stealthy sort of platformer working as a race to the end if the movement's very smooth, fluid. It's sort of like parkour, Mirror's Edge almost kind of thing. Where it's all about maintaining one fast, fluid motion through the level
and going invisible. Well, I mean, you could argue you're doing that, and you're going invisible at appropriate moments.
But then that's the thing. If you take like Mirror's Edge for example, if you're trying to move through a level really quickly like that, and you're constantly moving into new areas, you're not going to have the time to take in like where are say cameras or guards, and so you're just going to end up stumbling into things.
So I think what's interesting is that I think what's going on here is that it starts off being a stealth game and it ends up being a race game, and you can tell that as I played. So when I first played, I played it cautiously. I was going slowly. I went to collect the power-ups. I was playing it like a stealth game. And by the time we got to the end, I was like, well, sod that. I'm just going to run for it, jump over stuff as fast as possible, use my invisibility and ignore everything else, right? And that's the problem, right? That kind of it's trying to be these two different things, and the theme and the mechanics suggest to you it's a stealth game, but actually it isn't. So I think that they are right that it's a race to an end game, but the mechanics they've chosen are not helping.
Like some like you say, the invisibility sort of works towards it.
Yes.
The fact that the focus recharges kind of doesn't, because it incentivizes you to sit and wait for it to recharge.
Yes, you have a limited amount, just full stop.
The projectiles arguably also help, because if your focus is low, you can shoot the guards.
But then you've got to stop.
With the level design, like there's so few places where you are actually able to shoot a projectile far enough in advance to have an effect.
So I think there may be at the pass level here. They've got a core dynamic, but it's not well supported by the mechanics or the audio-visual choices.
They talk about in the report sort of like what they consider sort of like the supporting features of it.
They said it's also complemented by an evasion dynamic, as the player must constantly avoid being spotted by enemies while traversing the level. So they do see that it's both things, but they think it's supporting it, whereas we think they're in conflict, right? So for me, that's a pass. The core dynamic is not well supported by the mechanics or the audio-visual choices.
I think that it's hard to argue that it's not that.
Feedback. So one suggestion we got was to make sure that level restarts were fast, so the game wasn't interrupted. So we implemented an instant level restart. Another one was to make the tutorial suggest effective use of mechanics rather than explicitly. You therefore design the tutorials without explaining tactical use of the game's mechanics, but rather putting them in situations where use of a new mechanic was clearly useful. So I think they mean, instead of saying press invisible to get past this enemy, they say, hey, you can go invisible, there's an enemy. Another important suggestion was to add a field of view indicator for the enemies. This gives the player the information to make optimal decisions and avoids frustrating scenarios where the player must guess the exact range of...
Wait, this originally didn't have that?
So
I'm amazed it didn't have that.
No, I think this is a case of... It was another one where it was a very early iteration and they didn't have exactly a playable prototype.
Got you.
So it was... Yeah.
Finally, the initial implementation we had was for a timer. It was a clock on the top right of the screen. However, it was suggested that we could instead use a bar on the bottom to indicate remaining time. Right. So I think they've articulated feedback and they've done it.
Yeah.
But they haven't necessarily interpreted or gone beyond it.
Yeah. So that put it maybe somewhere between satisfactory and good.
I think halfway between the two. They've kind of they've made some changes and they've been sort of partially successful, I think. Okay, shall we move on?
Gradually. Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay, so our next game is Phase. So I haven't seen this one before, I think, but you guys both have. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So nice bit of music.
So I think you can do that in the volume option. So.
Okay. I'm just turned around a little bit. But, let's start game. I see the phase device up ahead. Better move fast. AD. Okay. Oh, okay. Security breach in sector B. Dispatch guards. Oh, what's that do? Something. Oh, I need a key card. Get the key card. Access key. Space. Okay. Level 2 phase. I can use space to jump. Did I use? Okay. There's a key card up there. Might be useful for something. I can also jump off walls. Can you? This is. Jump off walls. Can you jump off walls?
You can, but I think you need to press the direction you want to go.
I was, but you have to jump before you press the direction.
Yeah, so I think you have to move into the wall, jump, and then move away from it.
Yeah. Okay. The device lets me phase through walls using left shift or really? How many fingers have I got? Okay. So AD left shift or right control. Okay. Maybe I'll try right control.
Gotta hold it.
Okay.
Do you have to hold it down?
Space to jump.
Yeah, fine.
So I've got to hold it down. Alright. Might be nice, useful to know. I can't face through that wall though. Why can't I face through that wall?
So this is a special wall because it's got the orange border and the little phase symbol on
it. And I'm suffocating in a wall. Alright, can I jump up there? Can I just jump up vertical walls? I can, just about. Okay. It's my battery. Oh, that's the battery for my phase device.
Yeah.
Ugh. It's a bit annoying jumping up walls, if I'm honest.
You could have just phased through it.
You said I could only phase through walls with a symbol on.
Yeah. It had the symbol on.
Did it?
Two of it.
Yeah.
Target sighted at
they've got the big orange border on as well.
Have I got? I haven't got a key card yet. Have I? Oh, the key card's over there. Get off. Go away. There. All right. So it's the orange border that lets me phase through the walls. Okay. All right. So in theory, I should be able to phase through this wall, but then can I go anywhere? Why did I die?
Because you phased into the bottom and had that go shift.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's that orange symbol do then? Does that mean anything?
No, it's just the symbol for phasing.
Okay. Just, hey, you can phase and stuff. Ugh, I hit the wall and grab the wall.
I keep doing that.
Ah, so annoying. Alright. Getting there. Go. What's there? Battery. Alright.
Right, this time for sure.
I didn't get the key card! Oh, fuck, crying out loud. Right. And I'm sort of stuffed a bit. No.
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh.
Now you're stuffed a bit.
Still.
I think now you are stuffed.
Well,
really?
You've just got to wait for that. Well,
oh, that's right. It does very slowly recharge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, let's go.
I think there's one more level
Across
after this one.
Jump across that one. Jump up through there, get the key card. No! It just grabs the wall!
You keep letting go of face.
Well, it's because. But how do you. It's because he grabs the wall automatically. Oh. Because he grabs the wall automatically.
Yeah.
There's no other way to. How do you let go of the wall?
You have to move away from it, I think. Like, just move in the opposite direction and it should let go.
Okay.
But yeah, we brought this up to them during the expos that is very frustrating because I think we both died to that a few times.
Get off! Okay. Level 4 pursuit. Okay. Over there, maybe?
Oh no.
Where's my key card? Over there. Ah! The wall jumping's pain. Right.
And then back to the exit.
I was kind of expecting I'd have to do a bit more to get back to the exit. Like, there's lots of interesting things to drop through and... Okay. Okay. Anyone see the key card anywhere?
Might be the other side of that wall.
Yeah, so this is another thing we mentioned
that wall up there.
That little path there is
very
misleading.
Oh, there's the door as well. Okay, so we got there. Yes, you're right. It does sort of.
But it's also not that punishing because if it does lead you away
it's
from
fine.
So, yeah. On the one hand, it kind of rewards you for taking the wrong route by giving you, you know, a little power up to say, okay, consolation prize, here's a power up. But by that point, you've never used any phase so far in the level.
Wall jumping is a pain. Just kind of, yeah.
I like them. Yeah, that's right. So actually, on the subject of like the aesthetics of it,
sure.
Presentation. So information design, audio.
It's nice.
Yeah, like it's really. I really like the animation style of this one. It's nice. It's like it fits. It's simple. It's clear. It's obvious which one's you, which one's the enemy.
Yeah, they did a really good job.
The music fits really well with the.
Hang on, man.
I think you unfazed just as you dropped it.
But no, but I ran out of battery. Like my battery was on half, and it just went right the way down.
Oh. Yeah, you use the battery pretty quickly.
But you do. Because I just didn't have as much battery going in, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so again, with the visual design, when the battery runs out, but the bar still has like one row of pixels in there.
Yeah.
And they said that the reason for that was that because it's slanted, they couldn't work out how to get it to be completely gone without like being negative.
Can you phase? Ah, he can.
He can't phase, but he's very good at wall jumping.
Very good. Yeah. It's almost easier to wall jump through that part than phase, depending on.
But again, risk reward choices.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, aesthetics wise, you know how like all of these games have been saying, wouldn't this be nice with a bit of techno in the background?
Yes. And here you go. Here's your techno background.
So equally, it's kind of a shame that there aren't sound effects when you phase or when you.
Well, there is a sound effect. There's that kind of humming in the background.
Yeah, there is a.
Actually, that's the point. So I played this in the expo with the music off.
Oh, okay.
And it's a lot easier to hear the sound effects then. So yeah, there are a couple of little sound effects, but yeah, there is that little as your battery
and I
drains.
think there's a very slight sound when you explode.
Which is good, because there should always be a sound when you explode. Yeah, there is, just a little.
Yeah. They're subtle, but they are there.
So
and I think there's also a door for a sound for the doors opening.
Nice.
But
so good would be key information is shown clearly, graphics are consistent, appropriate use of audio, effects or music.
Yeah, I think it hits all of those.
Yeah, excellent would be key information is shown clearly, consistent and appealing graphics, good use of audio. And I think it's probably that as well. So praiseworthy would be novel yet clear ways of showing key information, consistent and thematically resonant graphics. And I don't know if it reaches all the way to the top of that. So it's nice to see, like when you phase, it just sort of like.
I think the consistent appealing graphics is there. I think the audio is there.
Right.
I think for me, you're right. So the thing that I've actually got exasperated now, so I've given it to Cam, is the phase bar. Right. I cannot get a sense of how long I can phase for. I don't know why. I think it's going down at the same rate, but I just kind of.
What? I wonder, does the hum stay constant, or does it change in pitch or at all while you're phasing? Because what would have been good is if you've got that low hum, is as it gets like closer, the pitch increases.
I think they could have done a bit more there, but so you saved your. And you're right. It's best to go over the top.
Oh man, I was much better at this in the expo.
So yeah, the wall jump is.
The wall jumping is really tricky, but then it always is. So interesting. We've had some games that complain the wall jumping isn't automatic, and here it's automatic. Now we're complaining the wall jumping is automatic. So I just get the feeling that it's tricky to get.
It's tricky to get right.
That's great. There we go. So yeah, so where were we in terms of
down? We'll hear the sound effects a bit quicker.
So where were we in terms of the thing?
We were debating like excellent. Maybe
I would say it probably is.
It's
probably done enough to get to excellent. I think it's
I think it's excellent. I'm questioning whether it
should be prizeworthy.
I mean, I don't think there's anything novel.
I don't think there's nothing novel there, and I don't think I don't think they've really gone. I'd be happy to go to excellent. They've done a good job.
So gameplay wise, set of the mechanics, the controls, how smooth it feels to play, whether there's meaningful play.
So I think it definitely has. I find the jumping exasperating, but I don't necessarily think it's their fault for that.
So long.
Yeah. So I actually think they've done a pretty good job.
So if we look at the good category for that, that'd be a set of complementary mechanics, smooth usable controls, leads to meaningful play. So
I think.
So we've got jumping, wall jumping, phasing, the phase bar, the key cards,
and they all work together nicely. Yeah, I would say it's definitely a good. What's the next level?
So excellent would be a wide set of complementary mechanics, intuitive and smooth usable controls that lead to enjoyable and meaningful play. And I definitely think this game is enjoyable, but I don't know about the.
I would say maybe put it halfway between the two.
Yeah,
because it's enjoyable, but the controls just feel a little bit clunky.
Yeah,
and the wall jumping's a little sticky, and it's a little bit too easy to get caught just going in or out of these.
It's one of those things where it's like almost if you were, like we were saying about the previous game, sort of be lenient towards the player. So if you stop phasing just on the edge, it pushes you out.
That's right. Yeah.
Have I gone too far? He appears to have stopped chasing. There he is.
That does occasionally happen, I think. So speaking of that, bugs.
So
occasionally the chaser does sort of get caught behind something and can't track you down.
But other than that, I think we've not seen anything, have we?
Other than that, no, I don't think so.
So I think it's a relatively complex game. It's kind of I would say that's in the excellent level.
Try and find some bugs.
Yeah, so playable, reasonably complex, no obvious bugs.
I think so. Yeah, no, it's really nicely done.
Alright, so in terms of the brief, so what we actually asked them to do,
level design.
Level design. So how well does the level design show off the mechanics? How well is it show the pacing of the game and the goals, risks, and rewards?
So I think again they've done pretty well here. Like there's clearly some level design happening. So and it does get harder, right? So the early ones you don't have the chaser, for example.
The arrows in the background.
They've kind of used all the mechanics. All the mechanics are in there. You need to use them to actually get the game.
But sort of positions like this, you've got the risk reward of do I waste time going over the top, or do I just try and phase through it? I will say I would have liked there to be more levels. Like it'd be nice if there was some slightly more complexity in some of them.
I think they've done a nice job. I mean, they all display the mechanics properly. And
I'm definitely glad they spent the time polishing these levels to the.
There's also
they're good.
Not getting chased at the moment.
Yeah,
and you're getting So where were we? Good would be a sensible level design that demonstrates a range of mechanics with good pacing and some clear goals.
We found another bug. You've got infinite.
As long as you keep wall jumping, it's fine.
Or is it the second you stop wall jumping, you'll?
No, maybe it's just because I started while wall jumping.
Alright, so based on that and the chaser, I'm inclined to knock their
just knock it down a tad.
Oh no, it's still like that.
Put it halfway between the two, maybe.
I'm not sure what I've done to cause this.
So I think the level design here, sensible level design that demonstrates a range of mechanics with good pacing and some goals, risks, rewards. I think they've done that, haven't they? Excellent was a sophisticated level design that demonstrates a wide range of mechanics with good varied pacing and balanced goalposts. I don't feel it's
sure it's 100% there yet, so I think it's firmly in good.
I think I would put it good, yeah. And the tutorial. So they've got an integrated tutorial.
So through sort of like dialogue as well, which is kind of nice.
So excellent would be an integrated tutorial that communicates goals, risks, rewards through level design and introduces information and mechanics in a logical way.
So that's it. It explicitly teaches you the mechanics, but stuff like the risk and reward is done purely through the level design, which I think is nice.
Yes. Pop.
I'm trying to.
Oh wait!
I quite like the way you burst. When you
I wonder if it's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not in the wall when it runs out, it just runs forever.
Oh really?
Yeah. That's the reason. Oh no! So that one killed me. I think
it doesn't turn it off, is it?
Let's not worry about that too much. Let's just call it a bug and keep on with this.
So So is it an integrated tutorial or a mostly integrated tutorial? And does it build? Does it allow the mechanics to build on what's come before?
I think they do to an extent, but maybe not enough to reach all the way into excellent.
So halfway between the two.
I think that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. Right.
Core dynamic.
So what they say the core dynamic was right. Well, what they put there, the core dynamic of phase is chase evade. Story has the player being chased by guards. The player can take advantage of the device and phase through marked walls. By combining this mechanic with the movement, skills and timing, you must outrun and trick the guards to retrieve key cards and escape levels. And we also wanted to put it in the level design and the music. We added multiple paths to other player options to dodge the guards and get to the door. We chose fast-paced electronic music to fit the sci-fi theme and the pacing of the chase dynamic brackets and to please Tom. So, okay.
Does it actually say that?
It doesn't say that, but they should have done. They should have done. Right, so, chase evade.
So, I mean, everything they've just said, 100% accurate, yeah. The only thing that the thing that I think could have improved this more is if somehow, like, I don't know, more chases and more emphasis on it. For example, if you're being chased by multiple people, and that gives you more reason to try and shake them off by phasing through stuff in an interesting way. I also think isn't it a shame that they only introduced that in the last level? Well, tutorial stuff step by step. It's not the last level. There's like 3 levels with chases. So what's okay?
Yeah, I think it's 3 to 5. Or
all right, 3 to 5. All right. So they introduced it halfway through.
But that's what I mean. It'd be nice if they expanded it a bit afterwards. But given that this is what they had time for and they spent it polishing what they had. No.
So I think the final one, where you get to the bit with the chaser, I think it absolutely is delivering on what
they actually credited stuff as well.
That's nice.
In case you want to get that techno music.
So let's have a look. So good would be a clear core dynamic that suits the theme of the game and is well supported by primary mechanics and mostly appropriate audio-visual choices.
Release that.
Yeah, I think definitely. And excellent would be to improve that slightly.
A clear core dynamic that suits the theme of the game and that is well supported by an
integrated
set of
and
mechanics
appropriate. So it goes from being mostly appropriate audio-visual to appropriate, and it goes from being supported by mechanics to supported by integrated mechanics. It is kind of up there, I think.
He fixed himself.
I think there's no reason why the mechanics kind of fit with one another.
Like it's really like the primary mechanic of phasing through stuff. It's not incredibly complex, but you've also got having to evade them while you get to the.
They could have done a little bit more with it.
Yeah.
And I think the point is, if you had multiple chasers, then it introduces the idea of being able to get rid of the chaser, perhaps by using the phase thing imaginatively or something.
Or alternatively, constraining the player to a smaller area so you have to evade them until the door unlocks or something like that. Yeah. So I think that sort of thing would have really pushed it up to excellent. So
maybe between the two.
Here he comes.
And then feedback. So they were told that the tutorial should be naturally integrated. Our first tutorial was a dialogue box system that paused the game and wait for the enter key. And we decided to make those passive and avoid interrupting you, so they just disappear as you complete the actions instead. We put them in the early levels to get you familiar with the mechanics, and we experimented with background elements like arrows and visual cues. So if you try to open the door without a key, a buzz is played and the keycard image is shown above the door. Which actually, I think it's just there permanently. I think it just... On the tutorial it showed it.
No, it's only when you walk past it.
Okay. So during the lectures and feedback session, we were strongly advised to play test our game. We play tested twice. We've got people with a range of abilities. I found the wall jump mechanic to be a problem for some. Yeah, hello, that's me. To ease this, we slow the avatars forward when grabbing a wall to give more chance to jump. Okay, it does work. I mean, it just still feels a little bit clunky. We were wondering feedback that having an unusual mechanic like phasing could cause frustration for new players. So most of the phase opportunities have an easier alternative route, with the downside of giving the guards the time to catch up. Yeah.
So incorporating the risk and reward into
that, which work well. So I think so it's definitely good. Mm-hmm. So the question is, have they interpreted what they've got here? And I think they've made some steps to do that. I think they've kind of,
but perhaps not fully.
Yeah, they kind of, they haven't got about some knock-on consequences maybe, but they've taken the advice and they've come up with a solution on their own that I think solves the problem. So for me, again, halfway between the two would be.
So, and
I think that's our last one.
That is our last one.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening to the videos, and we'll see you again for another group of games fairly soon.
All right, bye bye.